So, welcome here. Today we're going to talk about February, and I call these cosmic compass. My initial idea was that I would start in January, but because my voice disappeared and it's still not really back, I could not do anything. I mean, really could not work at all in January. But now we're here, and we're going to talk about the transits and what's going on. I'm a Western tropical astrologer, and I call myself an astro coach because I combine my 30 years of experience as a therapist and a coach, and even more longer as a teacher. And I have also been on stage and done all kinds of things. So, being just uh, don't get me wrong, I don't mean but just saying like I'm an astrologer doesn't really feel congruent with who I am and what I know and my expertise. So I got to this point where I feel that much more aligned with I'm an astro coach. I use the wisdom of the skies together with the wisdom I have gathered through my life. It will be somewhat like this today. So I'm a Western tropical astrologer, and I use the whole house system. And there are many house systems, and there's some people say this is better and that is better, and you cannot use this and you should use that. And I've chosen this one. It works, and they all work. It really depends on like finding your expertise in a specific place. And I use a mix of ancient and modern techniques. And when I say modern, one of them is using the what's called the modern planets, or the planets that were discovered much later, because the 10 basic planets they have been used all over the planet in different types of astrology for thousands and thousands of years. So this is not like a whim. And I also want to say that this is not woo, because it's based on cycles, and we have records of how this has been recorded, what happens when certain planets do this and that. And we can see patterns through thousands of years. So let's get on with it. What are transits? Transits are the consistent tracking of the planets because they consistently move. You have your own personal birth chart. It's a map of the landscape of your life. You can find all kinds of interesting things there, and anyone who has had a reading with me know that I can say, I think this happened when you were this and that old, or this kind of relationship between your parents. So I mean, you can see a lot, and people go like, what? How on earth could you even possibly? I mean, we don't even know each other. So when you see the transits move on, then you can see how they are affecting your birth chart, and that will affect your life. And depending on where these transits show up, it depends on what part of your life it's going to happen. So there are planets, there are stars, and there are points transported through the cosmos, and they move around constantly, and they're called transits. So the monthly cosmic compass, I will first talk about the house meanings, and then highlights of February, and a new thing that I've just started to do, that I will start to do. So I might feel, apart from my voice, it might be like I'm stumbling around a little, because this is a completely new thing. I've never done this before, and I have not done any personal forecasts. So I have one chart of one person, and I'll just do a little short overview of what this person might be good to think at, or what might happen for her. And I will use, over the year, I'm planning to use one rising sign at a time. So this one today is going to be Capricorn. And if you are interested in submitting your chart, you can always contact me, and we'll see if you are the right fit for this. So the house meanings. The first house there, because you see the chart, and it's like 12 equally big pieces of cake. And the first one is the house that tells how the other houses are being distributed. So if you look to the right, you see the red symbol there, that's Leo. And I have circled a Capricorn symbol in the 6th house. So this is because this person has Leo as the ascendant, as the rising sign. The sign is Leo, and the ascendant is in this case at 2 degrees of Leo. So to be able to see for a more personalized view of these compasses, it's good for you to have your chart, and I can send that to you and create a chart like this. This is my fake friend Jennifer from Antwerpen. And you can see here, I have circled the red one, the Capricorn again, that this one is not in the 6th house because the rising sign is Taurus, and therefore the Capricorn is up in the 9th house, which means, let's say there had been a full moon. That full moon will appear in the 6th house in the chart before, here, no, sorry, here, but it will appear in the 9th house. And because we have different areas of life in the different houses, so the first one is like the self, your appearance. The 4th one is about home, family, where you're coming from. The 8th one is other people's money, taxes, inheritance, and so on and so forth. So therefore, it's really important to know where is this happening. So what I'm talking about here, the only way you can know where it's happening, unless you have your own chart, is to actually get your chart. And at no cost, I will give it to you if you have your exact time of day, and the day, of course, the year, and where you were born. And I can create a chart like this and send it over to you. So January's theme was get the rest you need. And I was really kicked over, go rest, don't do anything. Which was not what I had expected. But what I knew was that this was a good time to lean back a little. I know a lot of people have had a challenging January. It is a challenging year. Full stop. It's going to be, for a lot of people, it's like, when will this ever end? And I'm asking the same question. It is challenging, and we are going through a transformation like no other. I have done I've been talking about this whole year, 2025. I've been talking about the transits of this year and the Pluto in Aquarius. So I have 3 different presentations here that I did live that you can look up. So that was January, get the rest you need. And then we're moving into February, and now it's swim with the tides, because there's going to be a lot of water energy. Though we're going to start with just talking about what happened last month. One of the things that I want to say is that the nodes shifted. I'm not going to go into the technical things, but these the North Node, the symbol to the left, is, so to speak, where we're heading, where we're going, globally. And it depends on where in your chart is this sign showing up right now. And then you have the South Node, which is the one to the right, and that is what to leave behind, or what to look over and not be so focused on, and not gripping onto. Perhaps there are things that really need to leave your life, or you have to leave something is going away. And these points are not these are, as I mentioned before, there are points in the skies, and these are points that are not planets or physical things, but they're very important because they are involved in the eclipses. No more astrology lingo. So the nodal shift, so now it's going to be in Pisces and in Virgo, and that is a completely different energy than we've been through for the last 1.5 years. It's going to be much more about your health, about your spiritual health, about your physical health, about what you need to do and how you want to do it. I think that's enough for now. So if we go with February, we start the first day with the Sun in Aquarius, Pluto, Mercury, and Ceres too. And Ceres is a planetoid, just as Pluto. It's a dwarf planet. So I will include asteroids and dwarf planets when I see fit. And I think this is important because Ceres is a very important goddess, female archetype that has to do with nourishment, how you give yourself nutrition, food, yes, but also how you nourish yourself, take care of yourself, and how you take care of others, how you have been taken care of as a child, and things like that. So they are all in Aquarius, which is an air sign. And we are coming from a new moon that is happening today, I think, in Aquarius, and Uranus has just gone direct at the 1st of February. So this feeling that most people probably have felt is like, is why nothing is happening. It feels like it's stalled. Where are we going? Mars is going retrograde, and it like pulls back, and because Mars is such a forceful power that wants to move forward, most of us have really felt like, how am I going to do this? Unless you have Mars retrograde in your chart, in your birth chart. Then you might feel like you're more on the move. So that's where we're coming from. On the 1st, Venus is going to be conjunct the North Node, which is in Pisces, in Neptune, and Venus is also going to be in her shadow. And shadow means that she's preparing to go retrograde. And I heard an astrologer call that it's the soft launch. When a planet goes retrograde or goes into the shadow, that becomes like the soft launch of the retrograde period. And the soft launch is about seeing and being aware of what's going on, because those themes will come back to be worked through, and then when you're done with that, you will move forward like into new territories with that specific planet. So that's going on with Venus. But when Venus is there with the North Node and with Neptune in Pisces, I think it's going to be like a pretty sweet feeling, dreamy perhaps, a kind of like creativity that it's not so much like going out and doing things, but like more of an inner creativity. And the illustration that I've chosen here is allow yourself to dream. And I don't mean dreaming randomly, like, oh, I'm going to just sit here, but be conscious with what do you desire for your life. The North Node in Pisces is about moving forward in this arena, wherever it is in your chart. But the Piscean energy is spiritual, it's emotional, it's creative. It can also be delusional. It can be a desire to victimize yourself, feeling sorry for yourself. So be sure to take the time, and this energy has already started today. So we're already in this, so you can take your time and be with yourself for a couple of days. I suggest that you write things down by hand, because the connection between the hand and the brain is just so important, and people do not write enough by hand. I write by hand every day. And I suggest that you do that, because that will also keep you more in touch with your body. And as I said I think it was in the Pivotal 2025, that it's going to be really important in the coming years to be grounded in your body. And writing by hand is one way of being grounded in your body, because it takes your physical hand, the physical pen, and your physical brain together. And then you can create images and whatever it is in your fantasy that's very Piscean, and write them down. So where do you want to go? What ship do you want to go? What birds do you want to fly with? What is going on for you? Like serious dreaming, and write down what you find. Between the 3rd and the 9th of February, we have Venus moving into Aries. That's called an ingress. And she will stay in Aries until March 2nd. And she will go retrograde in Aries. But when she moves in, she will change her style, so to speak. In this illustration, you see the sort of like in the clouds, dreamy feeling. But she will like get the horns on. And I don't mean aggressively, but that she will be like more in her power, more energetic, and she will be under the influence of Mars, and Mars is the red planet. and she's under the influence of Mars both when he is still going retrograde and when he was going to move forward. What is also good to know about Mars now when he's retrograde is that he is out of bounds, and when it's out of any planet out of bounds is not as contained. And this time Mars is far out of bounds, and we have seen there has been a lot of tragic things, a lot of violence going on in the world, and they have been really correlated with how Mars has been moving through first Leo and now Cancer. And I did a Next Week in the Skies article about the fires in the US that you can read later on. So then Jupiter will go direct in Gemini at 11 degrees on the same day. So both with the forward movement of like we're having this new moon, and then we have Uranus going forward, and then we have Jupiter. So we are moving into another kind of feeling out of that sort of stalemate, and that is what I mean by like swim with the tides. Don't let you be thrown around, but like be conscious about how this is affecting you. On the 7th of Mars in Cancer, it will trine Saturn in Pisces, and actually this is going to go on. It's exact here on the 7th, but it's already like there when we start the month, and this is a good thing because Saturn can help Mars to be a little more contained. Saturn is about boundaries, it's about structures, and when Mars is like going all wild all over the place, it's good to have Mars like Saturn reaching out and say, hey, wait a second. And because it's a positive, a good, a constructive aspect, the trine, see this as a good thing. Lean into this wherever it is in your chart. Lean in to Saturn when it feels if like things are going wild. On the 9th, Sun will be Cazimi with Mercury, and that means that Mercury will be exact with the Sun in Aquarius. Mercury enjoys being in Aquarius. This is a good place, a good time to get, when you might have like insights, write them down, pen and paper, write them down, and they can be like flashes, like, oh, this thing here, oh, right, and it's also easy to forget because things are moving so fast. So make sure that if you feel like, oh no, that was too weird, that was too odd. We're in Aquarius, so let it be weird and odd. Just write it down. You don't have to do anything about it to begin with, but make sure that you grab those ideas that might show up. Excuse me, around this Cazimi time. Moving forward to the next week, 10th to 16th of February. On the 8th, the 10th and the 11th, Ceres, Mercury and the Sun in Aquarius will square Uranus. Uranus is an important player this month, and Uranus is odd. It doesn't behave like the other planets, and it does create energies that are sudden, unexpected, electrifying, sometimes really positive, sometimes really negative. And so it's more like be alert. We usually, even if we know in what sign, we kind of see what kind. I've had experience with this. I think it's going to happen in this area, but I don't know how. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not so good. The square is a challenge. I also want to remind you that we always need challenges. If we don't have challenges, we will not evolve. We will not grow. Charts with very few squares can be more shocked when challenges show up, because challenges will always show up. But if you are born with squares in your chart, and you know that you have to like get yourself together, that can be like a blessing, even if it doesn't feel like that. Ask me at times. But that is the time to look out for like what's going on here. On the 12th, like very close by, we have a full moon in Leo at 24 degrees. It's gonna be squaring Uranus. It might be volatile. It might be yeah, things might be going on in the world and not only in your life, but out in the world that feel like, holy cow, what is going on? So that is very possible. Leo is, I would say, like generally a happy sign, and it's also fire. So because it's fire, it's it moves, it wants things, it wants to be center stage, and it's a fixed sign. So when both Uranus, both the moon and Uranus are in fixed signs, so when Uranus is there, it can be like shaky, and it could affect things like the earth, earthquakes. It could affect finances, because Taurus is a lot about finances and the earth. So be aware that this might be a tricky transit. Then on the 14th, Mercury will ingress in Pisces, and that's a completely different energy from Mercury, because Mercury likes to be in Aquarius, as I said, and it can be like, yeah, okay, I have a lot of ideas, I want to do this, I want to do that, and it's an air sign, and Mercury rules Gemini, which is an air sign. It also rules Virgo, which is Earth, but it's something very like airy about Mercury, and then it moves into Pisces. It's water, and even if the brilliant ideas most definitely were very creative, it can be hard to express what you want to say, or what your idea is about, or what this creative project, what it's going to look like. It might be difficult to make people understand. Even if it's very clear in your head and you know exactly what's going on, it might be a little blurry to find the words, or even that, you know, like it feels like your tongue is like so you have to repeat yourself. So just know that could happen. There's nothing wrong with you, and it will pass, and you can have a lot of brilliant ideas, and you can have pen and paper and write down what's happening. So that is 1 week, and then we have the next week when the Sun ingresses in Pisces too. And now we see like we're going from a lot of air in Aquarius and filling up the water sign Pisces. So now the energy is probably going to be more flowy, more like creative, and perhaps also more emotional, and that those feels that I was talking about in the beginning, that how are you feeling, how are you doing, what are your dreams about. They might be unrealistic, but when you write them down, they don't have to be realistic. But when you're moving around in the world, that is, everyone here is going to be affected by this. Things might be, the feel, it might be like, what's going on? What's real? And I'm not actually talking about fake news. I'm just talking about believing what you're seeing, believing what you're feeling, but because perhaps it's not that sustainable, it's not that substantial. So I used to say, don't believe everything you're thinking, because it's not necessarily true. And I think this is going to be very much so here in February, from the second half. Like, don't believe everything you're thinking, because it might not be true, not even true. You think it's true, but take your time to see, what am I going to do with this? No hasty decisions, even though the Uranus energy is there. Do what you can to stay a little like leaned back. On the 20th, Mercury will square Jupiter, and Mercury and Jupiter are the rulers of the nodes, Pisces and Gemini. It's mutable, and mutable means that they can like move around, change their minds, and because we are about the nodes, as I said, this is like the faith. No, I don't think I said that, but it's like where you're going forward. That's fated occurrences, and how they might like be shook. And again, to give yourself time to see how are things working, because Jupiter is expansive, and it expands everything it comes close to. as Rick Levine, one of my mentors, used to say, I'm paraphrasing, too much of a good thing might not be a good thing. So Jupiter is positive and optimistic and all of that, but sometimes it's just too much. So be aware of that when it comes to what's happening in Pisces. Also, Jupiter is not very comfortable being in Gemini. So Jupiter is like ruling over Mercury, and Mercury is ruling over Jupiter. It's called mutual reception. It's not a bad thing, but it can be a little confusing because there's so much water going on here. And then Mercury will conjoin Saturn on the 25th. And this might be the moment when it feels like, oh, whoops, okay, right. Because Saturn is about structure and setting the rules and making sure here is the limit, this is the border, it ends here. So it will help to get your thoughts, ideas, and things in order, so you're not so feel like you're like swirling around. So use that also, like to tap into it. You can look through your notes if you have been like writing things down, and see what is this about. How can I use this like in a constructive way? So this is good for Mercury. That can more easily express what you want to say. So we're moving into the end, and now planets are moving forward. Mars is going direct, finally, and when it is going direct, it will take whatever has been happening before. It will start to put things into place. Things that have stirred up, it will be easier to get things into place. It's still out of bounds, and it's still moving around in Cancer, which might not be totally comfortable. Not bad, but it's like it's going to do things that needs to be fixed, that needs to be organized, and move forward with that. But in the beginning of this period, it's going to stand still for several days. I think it's at 17 degrees, yes, 17 degrees of Cancer, and I think it's going to stay there for about 5 days. So it's going to be like a feeling of whenever we get moving, so that you can feel the energy of the movement, but it's not really as yet go there. When planets station, the energy, the vibe, the influence is stronger. So that's also good to know that if you feel like, oh, it's because it's moving, but it's just so slow that it's staying on the same degree for several days. And then we have a new moon in Pisces, and now we have everyone has joined in the water sign. So you can say we have Ceres, we have the moon, we have the sun at 9 degrees, as I was talking about in my, I think it was the last next week in the skies. And then we have Saturn, Mercury, the North Node, and Neptune. So it's very watery. And the new moon at 9 degrees, 9 is about endings. And this is the 4th new moon in a sequence that is at 9 degrees. And we're going to have another 2. So I see it real as we are ending things here. And this new moon, or these new moons, are like the new start of something that is ending. And that is, for me, when I look at the year or the coming few years, it's real as something is ending, an era, and that what's happening this year, 2025, has not happened in thousands of years. We cannot find it. These movements cannot be found, with computers or anything, even if we go thousands of years back. So we are living in a time where we have no idea how to deal with it. We have no historical references to what's going on here. So therefore I also see that this 9 is, yes, we are ending something. And endings, we don't like to end things, we don't like change. So I think that is also one of the reasons why it is painful and why we're resisting and trying to stay in the same place. If I go into talking more about how we deal with things as when we've been traumatized, and then we create a survival mechanism, and then we go back to that whenever something difficult happens, we go back to that. And if we look at what's going on in the world now, people want to go back. Make America great again. This is how it was. Don't stop these people from coming here. We don't want them. We want it to be the way it was. It's not going to happen. But we are like trying to create order in chaos, and the chaos is just going to get, from how I see it, it's just going to get worse if you try to hold on. I really think, go swim with the tides. Be flexible. Be water, as Bruce Lee said. Be that adaptable, because there is no going back. And I know I said this already 2020 when COVID hit, and people said, I want it to be back to normal. And I said, that's not going to happen. And I know I did a small video here on LinkedIn about it. It's not going to happen. We are moving into new territories unknown to us previously. So that is the new moon. And now we're going to talk a little about this chart. So again, the rising sign is not the same thing as the ascendant. The rising sign is the whole sign. And sometimes people mix them up as if they were the same thing. And it's about yourself and your survival mechanisms. You can go back and read through this later on if you like. So we're going to just look at this and say the ascendant, as opposed to the rising sign, is the exact point, your exact portal where you enter into the earth, where you are born, and what you bring with you into this space. In this chart, I will talk a little about a symbolic time technique that is called profections. We're all in a profected year, which means that one part of the chart is more activated. And this is a Capricorn chart. I too have a Capricorn chart, but I do not have Aries activated because I'm born in a different year. I have Gemini perfected, which means that Mercury is my Time Lord. And the Time Lord for this person is Mars. And when you have the Time Lord settled, you also know that you should look out for that planet and what it's doing, both in your birth chart and when it is transiting. So this is interesting because Mars is the Time Lord, and Mars is a very, very important planet right now. Mars is also the ruler of two signs. So first of all is the fourth house, the perfected house, and what is happening there, and it's home, family, ancestry, property, things like that. But it's all, you should also have like a little look. We're not going to talk about that today because this is like a short run through. But this is also the ruler of no, not Pisces. No, not Capricorn. Scorpio. Yeah, so I'm already in this like water flow, can't speak properly. So Mars is also the ruler of Scorpio at the same time. You can also see I have circled that Mars is conjunct very close to Uranus and to the North Node. So this person has the North Node in the 8th house, in Leo. So that says something about the relationship to money, the relationship to other people's money, taxes, inheritance. It's also the house of deep transformation, deep psychological transformation, the occult, the things that we don't really know so much about, so that we have to like dig into, which I would say is very much the same thing when it comes to other people's money. I don't know about it. So, but it's also about like investments and what is called passive income. In my world, it doesn't exist. You always have to work for it and keep track of it. But so that is the house that has now Mars, the ruler of this time period, this year. You go into your perfected year on the same day as your birthday, or as your sun goes back to exactly the same position, which could be the day before or the day after your birthday. So this is how this starts. And on the first of this particular chart here is from the first. And what you can see here is that the Time Lord is in the seventh house because it has moved here. So this is important because it's now squaring the Chiron symbol, the little green one, which is in the fourth house. The fourth house is the activated house. What is good for this month is that Mars has this consistent trine with Saturn, that is the blue line. And you can see here also that you have the 27th degree is and the 28th are like together here with Venus, Jupiter. No, not Jupiter, sorry. Neptune and the North Node. So those are energies that will be important for this person in the house of, I mean, Pisces here is in the house of siblings, neighbors, close relatives, or like the daily things that you do. You know, you go to the store, your bicycle, your car, communication, close to communication. If you're a business owner, this is also a house that rules your marketing, how you communicate with your presumptive clients. So this is one thing that is going on. What I was looking for in January, because I was supposed to do it in January, but didn't happen, is that in January, Mars squared both siblings. Pallas Athena and Aries are siblings, sisters to Mars. And I thought that was interesting, that because there's so much going on in the sibling house, and because Mars is the ruler of the fourth house of home and family and ancestry and where you're coming from. So I thought perhaps something has been going on when it comes to siblings in this particular person's case. It is passing through here now. It is passing. Sorry. Let's see if this helps. No, come on. Pallas Athena is passing through the first house of self-identity, body, and survival mechanisms. So when I see this, I saw this, I was thinking, something could be going on with siblings here. Not necessarily physically, but something about like the relationship or healing something, because the Chiron is squared to Mars, and Chiron is the wounded healer and often stands for healing. So this is one thing that and I will get like confirmation later on from this person and see, was there something going on in January and still going on, still happening, that has to do with siblings, or it could be your neighbors or other relatives, but as I said, because of the fourth house perfection, I think it has to do with family. On the 12th, we can see that we have the full moon, and the full moon is very, very close. It's conjunct to Uranus, Mars, and the North Node in this person's natal chart. So I would say that this moon is probably going to be stirring up things, and that has to do with money, that has to do with other people's money, perhaps loans, perhaps some kind of investment, things like that. Also because Mars is there in the natal chart, it is also connected to the home, to Aries, the fourth house. On the other side, we can see the Sun, Ceres, and Mercury. Ceres is the dwarf planet that rules nutrition, nourishment, how you take care of yourself, as I said before. And they are also very close. It's 24, 25, 26. So what's going on there? And this is also money. This is your own money. This is how you earn money, the value yourself. So the tension between other people's money and your own money is really strong. And then you see the red arrow here, and that is Uranus. When I had this going on, when I was like, oh, I have been talking about that in some podcasts, what happened for me. But what I'm wondering here is if there has been challenges about money, other people's money or loans or something like that, since mid-April 2024, because it has Uranus has been going back and forth in this square all this time, and it's now finally moving away, and it's a tough experience, this applying square when Uranus is squaring itself, and having it in the eighth house with the full moon. I would guess that something, or whatever should call it, interpret that something is coming to full fruition here, and then it like will move on to something new. I also know that this person has a progressed moon that is on its way away from a full moon. So something was a few years ago came to like full fruition. I think here something is probably starting to it's like the beginning of the end of something in a positive way. As I was saying also before, that the Cazimi here is, I will advise this person to use the Cazimi as when the Mercury is in close there to, you have the dates beforehand, very close to the Sun, and see what kind of insights can you have and get ideas, creative flashes about finances, economy, and how to deal with these things, because I think they're really on the fore for this person right now. So, if you want to know more about astro timing, I have a whole presentation about that, and you can go to stellascott.com /astro timing, and it will take you to LinkedIn, and you will get there. So I really want to thank this person for letting me do this and show you how to be able to work with a chart. I mean, it's really very short. It could be so much more to say, but this is what is that for me, like the magic of astrology. So why work with me? Why do this? Not only a one-time reading, because it's like buying a map and never learning how to read it. I don't do one-off readings. I've never done one-off readings, and I will never do one-off readings. Not because there's something wrong with them. They absolutely serve a purpose, but it doesn't align with how I work. And as I said before, it doesn't align with all the knowledge and expertise I already have. Because most astrology readings are one-sided. The astrologer tells you about your chart, gives you some insights about what happens after. How do you apply that information to your life? So working with me long-term, I guide you through transits, symbolic timings, decisions, and challenges, and I give you tools to move forward with your potential, so you can have clarity and confidence even in uncertain times. And I can, from the bottom of my heart, say that I am so grateful that I have seen certain things. I was like, God, this is going to be really difficult, because I have been able to take steps to mitigate certain things, and it has helped so much. And I have known that this period that I am going through right now was going to be challenging. It was some things I didn't realize. I didn't take into account the Mars going back and forth over my natal Mars. That is doing now, which has been, it is really challenging. I'm really glad it's in Cancer right now, but it will come back for the last time, and that is also like a restart for my Martian energy. So every time a planet comes back to the same place it was before, it's like a new moon. It's a new start, and now mine has been going back and forth. So now it's going to move forward later on, and I'm so grateful that I do not have Mars as my Time Lord right now, because I think that is really difficult for those that have that. So I've been writing about this in the Energy Shift Lab, how I work, and that in the next week in the skies, and I talk about the Energy Shift Lab, which is a workshop that I have started, and I did one the other day, so I had 4 times, and I was like, this was a whim. You can see it in my chart. I get like flashes, and then I just have to implement. But I will have one tomorrow where I talk about energy modalities. That it's not about astrology, but I talk about energy modalities and how they can be used to help you move along. Because I have a lot of energy modalities that I work with, and I have no words for how effective they are, and how much they help in moving you out of your stuckness, and where you're trapped, and how you can see where you're trapped. So that is something that I really encourage you to do. To go to Next Week in the Skies, subscribe, and read that article, and contact me if you want to be there, because this is beta right now. I've done this live here in Malmö, but this is beta online. So the last one is tomorrow night at 6 o'clock or evening, Central European time in the evening. And it's 500 Swedish crowns, which is like, about 48 US dollars, or pounds, a little less, and something like that. And then I will double the price. So if you want to check that out, come tomorrow. The magic of astrology is using it in your everyday life. I cannot stress that enough. And if you want to have your chart, the image actually, write to me, give me your data, and I will create an image and I will send it for you, and that is 100% free of charge. Thank you so much. That was almost 50 minutes. So I'm learning this. As I said, this is new, and also it's more difficult to speak like this. So thank you for being here, and I will talk to you next time. Bye for now.